election of a committee chair.
I nominate JB. I nominate JB to be committee chair.
I nominate Jerry, and everybody needs to vote for Jerry.
Okay.
But thank you, Michael.
Any additional
I'll second
nominations?
that. I'll second it for Jerry. Jerry, would you like to do this role?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, great.
Any additional nominations?
What's the second title?
There is no second
There is
title.
no.
Assistant to the chair.
Assistant, a nomination for the board.
Any further discussion regarding that? All those in favor of Jerry serving as the chair for the Rules and Regulation Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No. Thank you. And the meeting is hereby turned over to Jerry.
And I
Okay.
told Jerry that
Just
if
like
everybody's
that.
not
Yeah,
here,
good.
that I'd be more than glad to step in with anyone.
Oh, if you're
Because I've only
traveling.
done this for 20 years.
Only 20 years.
Only 20 years, yeah.
Well, thank you for electing me to this position, and I'm going to be straight up front and say if something needs to be worked on, we need to focus on it. If it doesn't need to be worked on, we don't need to create work for ourselves. But we need to, when we do meet, we need to meet with a purpose, and I think that that's coming. Do we have any open forum comments or anything from out in the audience?
No, we don't have no emails, and nobody is here to say anything.
Okay, what about response from the last meeting that we had? Is there anything
No,
involved in that?
and we haven't had a meeting in
Okay, well, do
6
we have any new,
months, year, 9 months?
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
do we have any new business we want to discuss?
But this is where we were, Doug and I had a conversation regarding this, and this is where we would encourage the committee to look at, are there things, are there policies that we should address, we should look at? Do we want to potentially look at all of the policies, just a few of the policies? Doug and I have gone through it all. Years ago, we did a comprehensive review of every single policy. On other times, we've attacked this problem, reviewed this policy and then that policy. So it is completely up to the committee as to how you wish to approach in looking at it.
I would just point out that we're going through this North Star conversion, and there's several things that may be impacted on the policy side that we're talking about through North Star. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that some of those things might be coming. I'll probably send an email to the group and advise you of what some of those things are, and then see if we want to get them on the agenda for a later meeting.
Good.
Like policies as far as like who reports to who, or how a procedure is done, or
Maybe the first thing that comes off the top of my head is guest card policies, perhaps.
how they're issued, or
how they're issued, how many are issued, how frequently, timing, those types of things.
One of the things we're looking at now, and I think we mentioned this during the North Star presentations, was the possibility of having activity cards that could be good for 2, potentially 3 years, to make it easier for our property owners, and maybe you get a discount if you get the 2nd and 3rd year or something like that. So those are the things that we've talked about, and that could have repercussions on in the governing documents, as Doug has indicated. The North Star upgrade is it's impacting every department by and large, and there could be policy issues that arise from that. And as Doug indicated, we're going to collect all those. I already have a list. I think Doug's working on a list that we'll need to bring to the committee, then eventually to the board. Implementation for North Star is towards the end of this year, so we have time, but
It's coming.
it's coming up.
Okay.
Is there a plan to create a digital activity card, or
That's absolutely one of the plans, is to have a digital activity
would
card.
that be saved to your? What I don't know, when we launched our app,
Mhm.
guess I imagined that this app would have all the great things, not just that's in the community, but all my personal information too for Bella Vista amenities. So it would have my kayak license, it would have my activity card, it would have my information on my lots, it would have my information on whatever thing we've signed up for.
So when we created the app, we told everybody, we told the community that the first version would be very informational and not very necessarily interactive with your personal information. And our plan absolutely was to version 2 or version 3 would be your phone would become the app would have your
This is
activity
my
card.
access to it.
Exactly. In converting to North Star, they're going to control our website. So we're going to be converting our website and our app. And so they will actually house the app. And so yes, your activity card will be here. Your guest pass will be on our app. And that's great. You know, you get a guest pass plus you have information regarding the amenities and the directions on how to get to the gym that you want to go to use your guest card at. So North Star is covering everything. Remember in the presentation, we're going from 5 integrated systems to 25 integrated systems, or is it? Yeah, it's 25 integrated systems, and one of those is our website and our app. And so ongoing, this is also going to save us money because we're doing the app through a third-party vendor. It's
Now
now
you can roll in
it's
underneath
now
North Star.
included in the cost of North Star.
Okay.
The website, which we're always working to upgrade and costs you money every time you do upgrades. You can't let it get stagnant. That's already included in the cost of North Star. So very roundabout or lengthy way of saying yes.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking about how that moment in the future here, not so far out, where we can give people updates, they can be alerted to things. I don't know all the things, rules and regulations is going to be in control of understanding, but a lot of the stuff is compliance in this community. You know, I mean, it's, you know, what is compliance? I don't know how many rub points we have right now that we need to look on this year. I mean, can you guys give us any color commentary on some things where you've seen that we should probably be talking about, or is there any friction spots?
Well, I think one of the areas that's come up recently with the lawsuit, the Armstrong lawsuit coming to a close. It's not closed yet, but it's coming to a close. I think at some point we need to take a look at 8.01. I think that would make sense. I think that would be a good policy that we need to take.
Is that Stratton's email?
It's regarding, Doug, why don't you jump in on what it's covering, but
Yeah, it's the indemnification provision that the policy describes and is not really clear.
About what immunity board directors get?
Right, it needs to be strengthened.
Yeah.
and so
Or
we-
limited.
So we've Doug and I have already had conversations with that. We have to be careful on the timeliness of it, meaning the lawsuit has to be 100% completed before we move forward. So that might not necessarily be a policy that we want to tackle tomorrow, but it may be a policy we want to tackle in 2 months from now. But it needs work, and we look at every single policy and we try to imagine every single eventuality, and then life happens and you look at the policy and go, wow, that needs work. We didn't see that one coming. You know. So we try and anticipate, but clearly the fire was an exceptional situation and not something that we could have anticipated. So I do think that's a policy that we need to touch on.
Okay.
I should be looking at that because it's probably there, so I just need some help with somebody answering it. But the policies, are they referenced with the last time they were upgraded?
Yes.
So we can see over the last little while, the last time they were changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A little running law.
On the top left-hand corner,
I
it
figured it was
indicates
there.
the dates that it was most recently, or any time there was a change, it indicates in there. And that allows you to reference back to the board minutes when it was voted on.
Because I think we may need to do that.
If I may interject, go ahead.
No, go
Sandy.
ahead.
I was just going to say, if I may interject, one that you may want to look at, which we've had a lot of practice with using lately, and unfortunately, is the allegation of misconduct process.
Yes.
There seems to be some holes in that, in practically speaking, of how to implement it. So,
Any discipline, basically.
yeah. So from my 2 cents, I would encourage you to look at that one. Put that one on the list to review.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say that I think there's probably some other areas where the declarations actually conflict with some of our policies. And there's probably some of that needs to be cleared up.
Yeah, if you're aware of that, let us know.
You have an example?
Yeah, if you're going through and you bring it to our attention, let us know, because there are, keep in mind that there are, and I'm gonna probably destroy this, but there's the declaration, there's been amendments, there's court cases, there's all these things that tie in, and so it is possible that a policy may be written incorrectly or is inconsistent, or it's possible that it is written correctly because of events that have occurred in the last 50 years. Would that be an accurate?
Correct.
Yes.
Another thing I'd like to look at, in fact, is one of the reasons I ran, was I really am hoping that even though you're working together, that the city and the POA can become a stronger bond.
Mhm.
And there are some conflicts with some of their rules and regs or ordinances or whatever with the POA. And Tom, you're gonna laugh at this, but one of them is chickens.
Yeah, yeah.
So the backstory on this is when I moved here in 2016, JB on the was interviewing me on the local TV station, and she asked me, one of the first questions she asked me was about chickens.
How do you feel about chickens, Tom?
That was a little bit of a curveball for only being here about a month. So
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I know. But yeah, if you, what I would encourage you to do is, as Doug has indicated, is put together a list of, if there are inconsistencies, put a list together and we can go through each and every one and either give you an explanation as to why they're different, or, okay, this needs to be fixed, let's start working on the language. And so you're aware, the process that we've taken, now it's not necessarily the process we always have to take, is the committee brings forward an issue. Okay, we have a problem with policy 1234, okay? The committee discusses what the issue is. It needs to say this or it needs to say this. Then we give it to our attorney. And our attorney, because he's a trained lawyer, he writes based upon the guidance that he's been provided for by the committee. He then writes it, and then sometimes he has to solicit input from our attorneys or outside counsel. Sometimes he works with me on it, and I'll solicit input from other communities, large-scale communities, and get their input on how they've written it. And then he brings it back to the committee for their input. And did we get it right? You said do X, Y, Z. Did we do X, Y, Z? Then the committee votes on it, and that's a recommendation. That recommendation then goes to the board, and then the board has to vote on it. They have to do 2 readings, and both readings have to take place at the regular meeting.
Gotcha.
So that's the process that we've taken. I think it makes sense, and at times we've had board members that want to wordsmith it, and that's Doug's job. He's the attorney. Let him come up with the wording. As long as he has been provided with the guidance and he follows the guidance, then he can do a great job wordsmithing it.
Because the words may and shall mean something totally different to an attorney than they do to you and me.
Absolutely.
One of them has a lot more strength than the other.
Yes.
Okay. What I'm taking away on this is that for the new business, if each of the directors on this board will send me a list of what they'd like to focus on first, and then also include that a time that your schedule would work out the best, and we'll try to work them all together, and then we'll set up our first meeting to move forward.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Well, we're here now. Sandy, you said that you think that there are some complications or some conflicting areas. Didn't have necessarily a concrete example, but you know that they're out there. JB, you brought up something from the city. Doug brought up something from the allegations of misconduct. We talked a bit about the future in North Star and being able to implicate one thing or the other via North Star, I guess, which is, I guess, a compliance thing. I actually do have my kayak pass, or I am actually a member of the gym, right? I guess those are those moments when things could get crossed where I don't know what else to think about, or where to even research the next thing to say to you, to like go do this homework and bring something back. I'd be at a loss to provide you something.
I think we'd have to tie, this is my opinion on this, we'd have to tie the policies to those areas. And we could probably get a little bit of help from Doug, and some of them we can do ourselves because we've read the policies.
Yeah.
And just bring that, include that with your list, and we'll go from there.
What we did one time, just as a suggestion, is so here's a list of the policies. So it's pretty comprehensive.
Can you plus up on that a couple times? There.
What we could potentially do is divide this lengthy list into quarters and say, Mike, we want you to view from policy 1.00 to
Divide and
2.09, and Sandy, you're going to go 3.01 up to blah, blah, blah. You could do it that way as a suggestion.
I kind of like that idea.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Personally, I'm going to read them all because I haven't read them, and I think it's a great education to just go through them. But I like the idea of dividing and conquering.
Well, I don't know. I go back to what Jerry said in his opening salvo was, let's not create more work on ourselves. We just had a number of groups go through this with a fine-tooth comb. I'm not quite sure that's a great use of my time. Yes, I don't mind coming up to snuff with everything and reading them.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's bad or anything. I'm not advocating against that. I'm just not quite sure I'm going to be generating anything by doing that, or am I just going to be searching for something to fulfill my list and then say, so I don't come back with zero?
Well, I would think it would be reading the policy and seeing if it makes sense, and if it does, go on to the next one. You know, just, hey, does that one make sense?
Yeah.
Does it need immediate attention, or does it feel good right
Such legalese that it doesn't make sense anyways,
Oh,
which
it
was,
does.
just goes back to what you know, it's like
Yeah.
it reads so much different because of the way that it's having to be stated, that it's like,
Yeah,
you know, it's
let's-
not as,
So there's
Let's not get
56 of
lost
them.
in the fact that
Right.
we've got several topics here that
Yeah.
we can kind of focus
Start
on.
with those.
Let's start with those, yeah, and
Right.
tie them in to where we think, and that way we can set up a meeting and have this discussion on what really needs to be worked on, and then once we've had that discussion, we can make assignments to that point.
Yeah.
Because we're all new into the, well, most of us are new into this, and it can get extensive.
And you could have 4 different opinions on the same
Exactly.
policy, you know, which way you think it should go. So it takes some.
So I'll send y'all out a list. I'll do that of some of the things we've talked about to highlight. We'll go from there.
Sounds good.
So that's it.
Okay, is there, next meeting date, send me your information when it'd be a good meeting time for y'all, and then we'll formulate that next day. Do we have to set one now? Okay, I didn't think so.
This is an ad hoc committee. It meets when it needs to. It is not required to meet on a monthly basis.
Okay,
So,
good, because
okay.
I always have a planning commission meeting on this Thursday every month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It is at the discretion of the committee members.
Okay, is there any other new business or anything that we need to discuss? And I have a motion that we adjourn
I give you a motion to adjourn.
in a second. All right. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Agree?
Thank you for stepping up, Jerry.
At the end of the year.
That's me again at the end of the year.